Hi everyone, my name is Muhammad Salman bin Abu Tahir, and today the topic of my speech is going to be whether if fatigue is the main cause of human factor related air crashes. My stand on this topic is that fatigue is not the main cause of human factor related air crashes. However, it is actually the unethical business strategies adopted by many aviation related companies that have actually led to negligence on the part of safety. Many aviation related companies actually adopt cost cutting measures so that they can maximize their economic growth and business performance, and as a result this has led to negligence on the part of safety in the aviation industry, and this is the main reason that many human factor related air crashes occur. Now let me introduce to you some of the very commonly used cost cutting measures in the aviation industry. Firstly, I would like to talk about the fact that aircrafts, they actually carry very minimal amount of fuel whenever they are flying. This is a strategy used by many airlines, or in fact all airlines, because of the fact that when the amount of fuel in the tank is high, there is increased weight load on the aircraft, and as a result the consumption of the fuel in the aircraft is going to be higher. So as therefore airlines actually adopt a minimal fuel carrying strategy so that they can maximize the fuel efficiency of the plane. This is very dangerous because in situations where there is an emergency, some aircrafts might not have sufficient fuel to be able to proceed with the emergency landing or to find the nearest airport, and as a result air crashes have occurred. A very famous example is the Avianca Airlines flight number 707, which crashed in the year 1990. It was actually crashed because of the fact that the pilot did not manage to land the airplane as a result of insufficient fuel in the aircraft. Now let's look at another factor which influences dangerous practices to be adopted. We all know that fuel prices are actually consistently and constantly changing in the market, and as a result of that, many airline companies, they practice this strategy called fuel hedging, which is basically to reserve a particular oil price for the next few years so that they do not actually face any losses. This seems to be a very good measure, right? However, there is one downside to it. When the market price of the fuel actually goes down, these companies actually end up paying much more than what they are supposed to be paying. And as a result, these airlines, they are even more skimpier on the amount of fuel that they carry on their planes, and as a result air crash might happen. So this is also another negligence and a dangerous business practice that has led to air crashes that have occurred. Apart from cutting down on fuel, airlines also cut down on manpower to fly more efficiently, and this comes with its own cons. The aviation industry is actually moving into a single pilot operation aircraft system, and we have actually seen prototypes being developed. In fact, NASA has actually recently, a few years ago, about 2 years ago, they have actually confirmed with Aviation Week that they have plans ready for single pilot aircraft operations, and they are actually working on the design at the moment to implement these new systems. This is a very dangerous practice, and it is very clear and evident that this is a cost cutting measure adopted by many companies so that they can cut down on pilots and save on millions and billions of dollars every year. But the downside of this is that the lives of many different people, the hundreds of thousands of people's lives, are actually dependent on one single pilot, and this is extremely dangerous because the famous Germanwings air crash that occurred in the year 2015 was actually orchestrated by a single pilot who actually locked the other pilot out of the cabin so that he could orchestrate the whole terrorism event. And this is an example of how dangerous this practice is. On top of the airlines, even ATC organizations are cutting manpower and overworking their officers so that they can save money. Even though it is actually fatigue experienced by the ATC officers that have led to many air crashes, let's take a deeper look. It's actually not the main cause. The main cause is the fact that these ATC companies and organizations, they actually adopt these cost-cutting measures so that they can overwork their staff and as a result cause fatigue. So the primary cause of these air crashes might not be fatigue, are actually not fatigue, but the fact that there is limited and insufficient manpower being deployed. We can look at an example whereby the FAA decided to add one single ATC officer to man 27 watchtowers so that because they received many complaints that their staff are insufficiently staffed. I mean, the watchtowers are insufficiently staffed and they wanted to take a measure. But obviously, one single ATC officer for 27 watchtowers is not much of an improvement, right? So this is an example of a very dangerous cost-cutting measures. Lastly, airline companies cut costs by investing in outdated technologies. Many airlines cut costs by using old, used model planes because they are much cheaper than buying brand new ones. Airline companies invest in old planes because they can actually be cheaper by more than 6 times or even 7 times compared to buying a brand new plane. According to Aviation Stock Exchange in 2014, a brand new plane can cost about 300,000 USD dollars, whereas a used 19-year-old plane might only cost slightly below 50,000 USD dollars. That is a huge decrement in the price, and this is what drives most of the airline companies. They actually prefer to buy very old aircraft models and used models so that they can cut lots of costs on investment. This is very bad because even though the FAA has many rules and regulations on aircraft maintenance, it is actually insufficient. In fact, the FAA has a rule whereby all aircrafts have to go through a yearly maintenance check, and this is clearly not enough when it comes to very old planes such as a 19-year-old or 20-year-old plane. The yearly checks are very little, and it's insufficient to promise a good safe flight for all the passengers. Even though most of the blame actually goes to operational staff during an air crash, the unethical business tactics used by these big companies are the unquestionably most important cause of many human factor related air crashes. Just to add in another point about the usage of old aircrafts, there is actually an example whereby the Yemenia Airways flight number 626 underwent a tragic crash which resulted in a single survivor. And the main reason why this crash occurred is because the plane was 19 years old and it was not properly maintained. And the previous time that it was sent for maintenance was a very long time ago, nearly a year cycle ago. So therefore it was not well maintained, and as a result it crashed. So we have seen many examples of how cost-cutting measures in many different aspects have led to air crashes, and this is in fact the biggest cause of air crashes. Fatigue is an aspect of human error that is undeniably a cause. However, like I mentioned earlier, it is the nature of the business in the aviation industry that is orchestrating all these different factors and causing air crashes. Business ethics and tactics are extremely important in any industry, or there will not be any motivation for organizations and airline companies to improve and thrive. However, these strategies are unethical when it comes to the fact that hundreds and thousands of lives are dependent on it. When these lives are being gambled on, it is extremely unethical for these business strategies to continue. It is alright for us to have control over money. However, when money takes control of us, all hell breaks loose. This is Salman. See you again. Thank you. Bye-bye.